Australia is also looking closely at the gesture made by Glory striker Bobby Despotovski. The Knights claim it started all the trouble.
Religious gesture or an obscene insult? Bobby Despotovski's career hangs on the answer. The Glory striker faces disciplinary action from Soccer Australia over the gesture the Melbourne Knights claim sparked Sunday's violence.
Like going into a synagogue and salute with a Hitler's greeting.
Despotovski says he hadn't meant to be offensive.
3 fingers means that's how I cross when I go to pray in the church. Nothing else to it. No victories in the war, nothing about the war.
And the Serbian community agree.
It is a private prayer that he wanted to succeed and win that game for Glory.
Despotovski has made 3-finger gestures in other games without a hint of controversy. This was after scoring the winning goal against Parramatta earlier this season. The player faces disciplinary action at both the club and national level.
There are provisions for fining and there are provisions for an educational process.
If I'm suspended, then the Melbourne Knights should be kicked out of the league.
Meantime, Soccer Australia expects to hand down its report tomorrow on the violence after the match, when at least half a dozen Glory players and officials were kicked and punched trying to board their team bus.
Well, there is a group of young men who shave their heads and call themselves headhunters. Now, they've been causing trouble to the club for some time.
Melbourne Knights have indicated that they've been able to identify at least 9 of the perpetrators, and they're in the process of obtaining further names.
Subiaco Oval says security has been beefed up for this weekend's return match in Perth.
And as that fallout from Sunday's NSL debacle continues, former Socceroo Robbie Slater has aired his frustrations at the World Games' lack of progress in this country.
But this has now been going on for 30 years since the inception of the NSL. I think it's an underlying problem. I think it's something that needs to be treated with the utmost seriousness, especially when we're looking at it at a time when we're restructuring and reforming our NSL.
Slater believes that restructure is meaningless unless the game is able to break away from its traditional ethnic roots.
Now, to compound these problems, in our showpiece, which is the final series, it was a semi-final game, we get this sort of thing that happens. And as I said, we all need to be proud of where we're from, but we can't be airing our pride on a national sporting scene. It's just not on.
Slater also says heavy sanctions are needed for the guilty parties and believes there are no excuses for Bobby Despotovski's behaviour.
Let's get things straight. Bobby is completely out of order. Even if he was taunted over his background, he is a professional player, and you have to put up with whatever, as a professional player, you put up with whatever gets thrown at you.
Despite allegations he incited crowd trouble with this 3-fingered Serbian salute. Despotovski, his teammates and coach Bernd Stanger were attacked after a game last Sunday night. The Melbourne Knights say the salute is deeply offensive to their supporters from the Croatian community.
Well, I don't know. What is it with... I go to AFL games. I don't want to...
But they don't throw flares and they don't bash players when they're leaving the ground.
You turn into a fuddy-duddy. Flares are pretty bad.
What happens if a flare hits a player or it hits a spectator when it's being thrown?
I don't know what happened.
Well, there was a lot in the Melbourne Knights game on the weekend against Perth Glory, played in Melbourne.
Yeah.
There was flares thrown on the ground, and there was alleged that a player made a racist sign.
Okay.
And at the end of the game, a couple of Perth players got attacked after the game, and bouncers security guards got attacked. And look, I don't
this where someone made a...
Yes, alleged. Here's the guy, Bobby.
Okay.
What's that? Yeah, Bobby.
Jeez, I almost found a use for it.
What is that? Despotovski. Well, it's been alleged that it actually is a Serbian salute. 3-finger Serbian salute. He claims it's actually just a religious gesture. So that
we don't want to get into the history of it, because the history of it is quite nasty.
Then why is it always? It seems to be race-driven soccer. It always seems to be racial tension.
No. What we see on the television is it's a bunch of idiots who find an excuse to.
It's a small element that's ruining.
It's a very small. I mean, I've seen heaps of fights at AFL games. Yeah. I used to go. Collingwood's home ground is Victoria Park, and I saw so much racism there. You've got no idea. Yeah, I've seen South Australian fans get belted and all that kind of stuff. So it's just an excuse where people they feel like, oh great, I'm a bit of an extreme kind of guy. I wouldn't mind a bit of biffo. I've got a bit of an excuse because I'm Croatian and I hate Serbs. Oh, geez, he's given me a chance. So that's what. So a bunch of idiots will always find.
But there are still etiquettes in sport. You don't get it in tennis in this country. You do in other countries.
In other countries, like in Chile, when Argentina played Chile, they went nuts there. They went nuts.
My main concern, and I don't want to take sides and all that, but my main concern is that we're really lucky in this country because the problems are small. We are allowed to go to the cricket. We can go to the football. We don't have to have the big wire mesh fencing. When you go overseas, you see it at cricket. You see it in all sorts of forms of football. Australia's great. You can go there and there's a little fence and you can see all the action. I'd hate to go to the day where we have to have wire fencing around our grounds. That's what concerns me the most.
Obviously, Soccer Australia can't afford proper security. That's where the problem lies.
Yeah, we're getting the wind up. Oh, is that?
It's Annie making a... Sorry, misinterpreted.
Go for it.
We were talking about it today, that Tiger Woods is...
Despotovski has received a death threat days out from the club's return clash with the Melbourne Knights.
The threat was made by telephone to the Perth Glory Club late this afternoon. Police were immediately called, two detectives speaking to Despotovski before training tonight. The club enlisting extra security to protect the striker.
Well, there'll be certain people watching him, they'll be discreetly watching over him. We do need to look after Bobby, particularly as there's been a lot of exposure for him in the recent days, and there will be people looking after him at the weekend.
The Knights claim this gesture from Despotovski sparked the violence that saw more than half a dozen Perth players and officials kicked and punched after last Sunday's match. Despotovski didn't appear fazed by the threat this evening.
He's fine. I think that he obviously showed the normal concern that anybody would if they had a threat towards him, but I think he's capable of doing it. As you can see out there tonight, he's training as hard, if not harder than ever before.
The Knights lay the blame for the incident on a group of skinheads known as the Headhunters. And as these pictures from last Sunday's clash show, the gang was clearly at the ground.